Welcome to the video launch of our new report, Online Teaching in the Time of Corona, Academic Teachers' Experiences in Norway. My name is Malcolm Langford, and I'm a professor at the Faculty of Law, University of Oslo, and also lead a pedagogical centre, the Centre for Experiential Legal Learning in this country. And with me as co-author on the report, I have...
I'm Krina Damsha. I'm an associate professor at the Department of Education and Link Center for Teaching and Learning in Higher Education at the University of Oslo.
So in Norway, on the 12th of March, the government announced a comprehensive lockdown. And this included the closure of all universities and colleges within a day. There was a massive collective effort by academic teachers across the country to introduce digital teaching. And we saw online learning emerge in the week afterwards from everyone's home offices, as we've seen around the world in all countries affected by the lockdown. We wanted to find out what actually happened in this process. What was the experience of academics in seeking to move abruptly to online teaching? And in the context of a lockdown. We sent out the survey instrument to members of a very large Facebook group, Digital Teaching in Higher Education, which we are involved with. The result is this report, and it's based on 172 respondents who filled out the questionnaire, which both had multiple choice questions, but also space for free text answers, which gave a lot more meaning and texture to the statistical responses that we have evaluated. So what did we find out? The first is that there has been a Zoom revolution. 30% of academic teachers reported that once before they had held an online lecture, but 70% had never done it before. Yet within the space of a few weeks, 80% are now reporting that they are using Zoom for lectures, for online discussions, breakout rooms, courses, and so forth. We also see a range of other software being used: Microsoft Teams, recording and PowerPoint, YouTube, Adobe Connect, Facebook, Skype, and some other programs like Blackboard and Kaltura. Canvas comes in at number 2 with 60%, but that's actually surprisingly low, as that's the main platform in Norway for organising teaching. It's been with us for some years. We also asked academic teachers what they thought about learning outcomes about this shift to online teaching. You can see that a third are not sure yet, unsure whether this has the same effect as ordinary teaching, is better or is worse. If we look at the rest of the respondents, we see that they're very split. 50% feel that it's the same, better than ordinary teaching, while the other half feel that it's a little worse or much worse than ordinary teaching. When we look more closely at the statistics, ransom regression analyses, we found that those who are more confident about the learning outcomes also use more interactive forms of digital teaching. And we can see this in our third finding, that there is a significant level of interactive learning. The highest there is live discussion, almost 60%, where teachers are using online tools like Zoom or Facebook or Skype to engage in live discussions with students. We also see many using live streaming, live breakout groups, digital supervision, digital student groups, which also have a high degree of interactivity. So that's a relatively positive finding. At the same time, there are quite a few who are not using online teaching in an interactive way, and that's something to look at, particularly if the next semester is also completely digital. Our fourth finding is that many teachers had to adapt. It wasn't just a simple matter of digitizing everything, but it's actually a full digitalization and transformation for many of the way in which they teach. So you can see a third answered that yes, to a large degree, I had to change the way I taught, and the overwhelming majority responded they did need to change their teaching methods. And it's interesting reading the free text answers, how much innovation is going on with teachers trying out new ways of organising their courses. And we particularly see a lot of the lessons from pedagogical research being taken into practice, with many teachers dividing up their courses in smaller chunks, for example, a flipped classroom method of short videos in advance, combined with live discussions and reflections, and potentially some digital exercises and breakout rooms. Fifthly, we found that there were certain things that helped with the transition. Mostly, we'll say the overwhelming majority relied on self-help, trying things out themselves, 80%, or using websites, 70%. However, it's also very much a collegial revolution or transition that we're seeing, with many using Facebook groups, asking close colleagues or colleagues with pedagogical and technical competence with help in the transition. In addition, help desks, digital coordinators who've been appointed by different faculties, participating in live tutorials, getting help from IT units, help from pedagogical centres has also been a part of the transition. Sixthly, we asked teachers how challenging the transition was, and it was split. Some felt that it was easy or very easy, others that it was difficult or very difficult. And we see a third in the middle, saying it was neither easy or difficult. When we look a little closer at why it was challenging, we see a range of reasons. Some of these are pedagogical in nature and related directly to online teaching. So lacking technical knowledge, having pedagogical insecurity or insecurity around data privacy, for example, with recording of lectures or courses. Other challenges are more related to the COVID-19 lockdown. So challenges with network connection, lack of equipment because you're not sitting in your office, having to care for children, having to struggle with illness, and having a lack of working space with some lecturers delivering their lectures from their bedrooms. And we see a very close correlation in the regression analysis between those who have many challenges and those who report a high degree of difficulty with the transition. Last main finding is time. That many lecturers and academics were stressed with the amount of time that was taking with the transition, both the transition to a new form of teaching and the transition in the midst of the corona lockdown, in which time resources are scarce because children have to be cared for and so forth. And this also led to reports of stress and sort of overuse of digital platforms, the need for digital detox and so forth. So one of the findings of our report is relates to the importance of also looking at the psychological health of the sector during this transition.
The findings in this survey study and the pedagogical research literature helped us identify a set of recommendations for both teachers and higher education institutions. Pedagogical research shows that online teaching must ensure structure and flexibility in the way content is taught and activities are organized, must offer opportunities for interaction and guide students in their learning activities, and should make the online space a friendly environment for students to participate. For institutions, leadership and administration, it is expected to provide digital infrastructure and pedagogical expertise. So our recommendations for teachers are divided in recommendations for preparing online teaching and for delivering it. When preparing, we recommend teachers to revisit the learning goals they envisioned initially, select and downsize contents to be taught. It is important to keep in mind that this redesign process takes time, so teachers should make sure that they ask for and allocate sufficient time. Creating a diversified teaching plan is important. Variation can be addressed by planning for learning activities for students also before the online meetings. This can be done in Canvas, for example, by planning reading or discussion tasks, reflections, or short case analysis. Lectures can be delivered both live or pre-recorded. Not to forget varying the forms of presentation, especially when students with special needs are involved. Planning different activities that involve interaction is essential, as it is difficult to be online and focus for a long time while being in a passive role. Interactivity can be provided through, for example, group work, discussions, small hands-on tasks, or quizzes. As online teaching will continue in this period, it is important to anticipate how teaching is connected to assessment and plan helping students to prepare for digital exams or other forms of assessment teachers are planning. It is expected that teachers develop digital competence and pedagogical competence needed for teaching online, but this can only develop over time. For now, we recommend teachers to actively seek help and resources, both at their institutions, from colleagues or online communities. During online teaching, we recommend teachers to provide structure to students through clear information about expectations and about the activities planned. A relaxed atmosphere is also important and it can put students at ease. Asking feedback from students is also recommended as it provides valuable information about the quality of teaching or learning outcomes, but also about students' needs and questions. Questions can be answered in different ways, in plenum, in chat, through private correspondence, in order to accommodate students who are less prone to communicate in a group. The recommendations for institutions are mainly pointing at the need to support teachers to become better equipped for teaching online and to prepare for it. We recommend, therefore, to ensure that digital infrastructure is accessible and reliable, and that teachers are aware of the availability of technical support. The same is valid for pedagogical expertise and support, where resources should be made available and visible. Such resources can be local, for example, dedicated institutional online sources on websites, pedagogical experts and colleagues, but also expert communities or online sources beyond institutional boundaries. Allocating time for preparing online teaching and facilitating the preparation of the digital assessment are essential for teachers to being able to provide good online teaching and also to support students. All this must be facilitated through a good flow of information. Finally, institutions are now making efforts to support online teaching under the constraints of the current situation. It is, however, recommended to look ahead to how teaching and learning will be reshaped by this situation, and to develop a strategy for sustainable higher education where online activities are blended naturally with regular teaching and learning activities.
So that's all from us. We hope you have the opportunity to read the report, and we hope that it provides a contribution both to tackling short-term challenges with online teaching during the time of Corona, but also a long-term contribution about how to introduce online teaching in a very abrupt manner. You can find our report online at the Centre for Experiential Legal Learning at the University of Oslo.